Alrighty, so today we're going to be continuing the biblical discipleship kind of outline that I started a couple weeks back. This is really going to be the only other part to the series because really beyond this point, it gets into specific applications to where I've already been making videos on this one, and also individual pastors should be able to do this because this is more designed for small group church settings that are started up within different kind of churches. So we're going to be starting about where to begin with these groups, and we're going to be talking about some different points of this one. Our first point for today is to start small. An important aspect of focusing on discipleship is that you need to start small. Starting out too big right off the bat can spread you really thin and doesn't help in establishing a true formula. If you start too large right off the bat, you can very easily become overwhelmed with trying to get established with this new thing where you drop it before you even really get rolling. The next point to kind of focus on here is to focus on what's important. There are key aspects that should be focused on first. So, your core doctrines, the five solas, baptism, communion, the overall gospel message, those should all be discussed first. You teach it, you discuss it, you work through any issues that may arise, because, like some groups or some members of the groups, they may have issues with misconceptions about one or multiple of the topics. And this helps just kind of make sure that your first person leading the group and the first like 5 to 10 who's alongside them understand and come to more of a consensus. There's consistency in it because when we get into the later parts of this model, you look at it, that first group, they're going on to teach other groups. So they need to be consistent with what the main group is, and they need to be ready for teaching these. And also, when you think about it, you can't really move on to bigger issues if you don't have a solid understanding on what's important first. The third thing, frequent meetings. You got to be consistent, you got to be frequent. Doesn't have to be weekly, but meeting in person frequently and consistency will help ensure everything moves smoothly. Whenever you meet, like say you meet twice this once month, then you take 3 months off, and then you meet once after that, then you take another 2 months off, you're not making any real progress. You need to actually be meeting on a consistent schedule so that you're actually making good progress here. And so the next point here is also going to be emphasizing the first one again. Keep your groups small. A group doesn't have to have 15 plus people in it to start off. The first group teaching with about 5 to 10 people will work out better in the end because you can take more time to be intentional with that smaller group. This also helps, later groups be smaller because you set this kind of like tone of, all right, this one's only got about five. So then take on only about five at a time. Sets some more consistency for later on. It also decreases the chances of being stuck on one issue for too long due to having to focus on more issues. Because if you have larger groups, all of a sudden you could have 5 or 6 people who have very different interpretations of one thing that you're talking about. So it takes even longer. You're spending even more time on this one thing. When if you had five, you can maybe have one issue that come up, and then you're now slowly working through that one issue. And so it kind of spreads out the issues that may come up or the misconceptions or misunderstandings so that it becomes a little bit easier to manage. I hope you're enjoying the video so far. And if you are, I would hope that you would like, comment, subscribe, and share the video with someone else who may need to see it. In doing so, it helps this channel reach an even bigger audience and helps achieve our goal of helping share and spread the messages of this channel out to more people, including people who may actually need to see a lot of this content. But overall, hope you continue enjoying the video. Have a blessed day. Now, the next point, and it's one of the kind of like biggest points here, is you have to focus on relevant issues. Focusing on relevant issues in our society today will help those in these groups know how to face challenges. It can be helpful to know what the current objections to Christianity from atheists, Mohammedists, Mormons, and other groups are, know their objections, and how to combat them. It is also important to know what current issues our society is facing. So, like currently, this is 2026 when this is being recorded. Some key issues in our society are on a national level. You have abortion is widely debated on a national level. The issue of homosexuality, rights, whether or not it's sinful, those kinds of issues within that topic. These are things that need to be discussed. Political violence, violence in general, that's becoming on the rise. You look at what happened with Charlie Kirk. You look at other issues of protests and different kind of issues like that, where it's like these are starting to get more violent. There's been multiple attempts on the president's life. These are things to talk about whether or not it's actually okay to do these things. Obviously, from a Christian standpoint, it's not, but we do need to kind of talk through this so we can express those ideas to people who may not be Christian. Issues of illegal immigration. That's another thing that we need to be actually understand because that's something that someone's probably or possibly going to come after you with. Egalitarianism is also on the rise. That's within that comes the idea of women pastors, women elders, things like that. That idea is back on the rise. So that's one where your church really needs to kind of have conversations with it. The Bible is pretty clear in that it's more complementarian than egalitarian. And so kind of working through those issues. There's also, there may be some national issues, but also remember individual communities have their own struggles. And it's important to take local issues into account, know what you're facing, know how to address them, because that's the front that you specifically and those groups are more likely to face. So then here's a couple steps to kind of be followed there. And the first one is know what the issue is, why the individual has their belief on it. So know their context. What does the Bible say about it? Have proof texts on hand. So know them, memorize them, have kind of this script ready. I mean, I'm reading off a script now too that I prepared for beforehand for this video. Have scripts ready. Know what you're talking about. Know and memorize what you're talking about so that you can actually combat these. Know the counters that they'll have and how to counter those counters. Face the issue with compassion. Don't get all angry in it. Don't get all aggressive in it. Show that compassion and love for the other person because that's ultimately what's going to stick for a lot of people. And also, this last point, know the challenges you'll face and how to counter them. That was the last one I mentioned. I kind of skipped ahead with my previous one, so we can kind of move on from that point. It's also important to remember that when discussing many issues, it is impossible that you will run into other Christians who will try to argue against you on this. It becomes that important that you know how to challenge those points too. Like, for example, there are Christians out there that support homosexuality. They have arguments that they use. You learn them, you learn how to counter them. And then our last point here for today, help those in the group learn their calling. So this was something that we discussed in the last video. Not everyone's called to be a pastor. Not everyone's called to be a teacher, but they likely have a calling within the church as a whole, not necessarily specifically your physical church, but church as a whole. There is somewhere they can likely help. And the ultimate focus and goal for discipleship is helping those within the groups understand their calling, understand where they need to be, and prepare them for that. And so on top of, teaching them these core points and working through these groups, we also need to make sure that we are preparing people for what their true calling is within the church. So overall, that's everything that I have for you today. I hope this video blessed you, and I hope you have a blessed rest of your day. Bye.